Dead on deck with evil dead chick. What's in store when you open the door? Step inside, my little ones. Bring your flashlight and good luck charms. Oh, and good luck charms. Oh. Might get dark. It might get scary. Maybe even a little insane. Crawl out from under the bed. Don't be afraid. Evil Dead Chick is here to entertain and thrill. Deadites on deck with Evil Dead Chick. Let's hang out till the sun comes up.
Check the children.
Late night spook show, creepy quality delights, school age scary, childhood nightmares all over again. Pint-sized Joey, pretend Jill, peeking through their fingers for just a little thrill. Pull the covers close to your chin, feeling your heartbeat jitter like Morse code. One tiny sin, staying up way past your bedtime, childhood nightmares all over again. Oh yeah.
Hey, gang, and welcome to another episode of Childhood Nightmares. And here in a little bit, we're going to be talking about the very creepy, a movie that still gives me chills even after all these years. The original When a Stranger Calls from 1979, not that nonsense remake. This is the true one when it comes to giving you shivers. And for those of you that haven't seen When a Stranger Calls, we're going to dig into this. We're going to have some clips and everything to try to illustrate why clearly this still yet is a childhood nightmare for me. It's a movie I love. I can watch it anytime, but it still gives me shivers. And we're going to get into all of that. But I want to get some housekeeping stuff out of the way, as usual. So I want to invite you guys and gals, if you haven't checked out the shop at deaditesondeck.com, if you know the name of my YouTube channel, the name of the horror shop shouldn't be hard to remember. Deaditesondeck.com. Tell them Poe sent you. Poe is, of course, the official mascot of the Deadites on Deck horror shop. Now, I've got t-shirts, I've got hats, I've got mouse pads, I've got tote bags, I've got blended teas and candles. There's Booga Booga Bears, and soon, hopefully soon, coming to the shop site will be the Pyro plushies, of which Poe will be the first of the Pyro plushies to make it on the shop site. Okay. Now, if you're not a horror fan, hey, I do custom work. If you are a horror fan and you don't see the design that you want, please, please feel free to fill out the handy dandy form on the homepage of the shop and tell me what it is that you so desire on a t-shirt, a hat, a tote bag, um, whatever, mouse pad, whatever. Um, if you're not a horror fan at all, I would be more than happy to put you and your significant other on a shirt, a hat, tote bag, mouse pad, whatever. Um, or your kids, your grandkids, your pets. As long as whatever you're wanting is legal, folks, and it's not pornography. I sorry, I can't do pornography, but most anything else I can do. Okay. If you're starting a new business, or you've got a side business that you're starting, or you want to do something for a friend that started their own business, I would be glad to work with you to create logos, or even if you've got an idea for a design that you're like, well, I don't think I can do this, but let's see what Dana can do with it. Right. So just wanted to remind you guys and gals of all of that. I should hopefully be having a full lineup of programming this coming week. We should be having a celluloid nightmare, or not celluloid nightmare, celluloid trash episode that was rescheduled from last week because I had dental work done and I fell asleep. So I didn't get to do that one. So this is a rescheduled celluloid trash. Tuesday will not be a horror fandom. It's a way of life. I'm going to do those every other Tuesday, folks. Wednesday should be a rescheduled cannon fodder. Thursday will be a They're All Messed Up. I'm not sure about a Friday Foolish. I will have to get back with Candace to see if maybe we can work one of those in and finish up our game. No watch alongs this weekend, but next weekend will be a new one for Saturday. I will be closing down voting on that probably tomorrow around noonish or whatever, unless I forget. It might be later. And Sunday, next Sunday, will be just one of the guys. And that will be the final watch along for a Sunday, unless you guys and gals let me know otherwise, because those have not, as of late, whether they're horror movies or comedies or whatever, have not been very popular. So unless there's a clamoring for them, I'm going to keep it from after that point being just a Saturday only thing. Okay. So I also wanted to remind you that because this is a live stream, movie roulette is in full effect. And how can you play a movie roulette? Well, you just give a $5 or more super chat during this or any other live stream, including watch alongs. And you can pick any movie of your choosing for me to watch and do a review of for an upcoming episode of Movie Roulette. Now, just one more thing, and then we're going to get to this movie, When a Stranger Calls. I promise. There are many, 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 many ways that you can support me and the channel. And a lot of them don't cost you one dime. Okay. So if you have not subscribed to my channel and you're loving the content, or even if you're liking it a little bit and you want to see more, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe. That helps me out in the algorithms of YouTube, folks. If you're liking some of these streams and videos even more than you are others, please hit the like button on those. That also helps me out. Also, share with friends and family members that you think might enjoy the content I'm putting out. That costs you nothing. That costs them nothing, right? Also, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming content I've got coming out. And those are all ways that you can help me and the channel out and get me up there in the algorithms of YouTube. And it doesn't cost you anything. Okay. So I always like to remind everybody of those different ways. And I am getting fairly close. I've got several more subscribers to get, but my next goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm almost there. I just need a few more. And if I get to 1,000 subscribers, me and Candace are going to do some cool cosplay for you. I'm going to be Cheryl from The Evil Dead, and Candace is going to be Mrs. Roper from Three's Company. So that should be some fun and entertaining cosplay. But we got to get me to 1,000 subscribers first, okay? All right, so now let's get to the matter at hand, which is When a Stranger Calls. Again, the original one from 1979. This is a movie, like I said at the beginning of the stream, that still never fails to give me chills. And here's why. Almost everybody has heard the urban legend about the babysitter and the man upstairs, right? That is a very terrifying story because, you know, maybe more back in the day than now. That may have been thunder again. Hopefully, they said that this stuff was supposed to stop, or at least the heavy rain was supposed to stop. Frankly, I'm sick to death of thunder and lightning every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to get back to this movie and quit complaining. But like I was saying, probably more so back in the day than it is now, when we were kind of restricted to landline phones and stuff like that, and people didn't have cell phones. But even cell phones can get you in trouble, folks, because you get stuck out in an area that doesn't have a good signal. You're pretty much screwed if you don't, have some other form of communication. But especially back in the days when we were restricted to landline phones, right? So everybody's almost has heard this story of a babysitter that comes to babysit the children of a apparently well-to-do couple who are going out for a night on the town, and they leave the babysitter with their kids. And somehow a rogue entity, this man, this crazy guy, gets into the house, kills the children, and then proceeds to call the babysitter as if they are calling from outside the home when they are already inside the home. They've already killed the children, which is gruesome in and of itself and terrifying. And then they start menacing the babysitter. Have you checked the children? Have you checked the children? Have you checked the children? And then the babysitter gets weirded out, gets cops involved, and the cops end up putting a tracer on the phone. And at the final hour, they call her and they say, the calls are coming from inside the house. Get out. To me, that is just absolutely terrifying, folks. It's absolutely terrifying, because where do you think that you would be safest? In your house, or if you're babysitting, in this case, in the house of the people that you're babysitting for, behind locked doors. You would think the threat's going to come from outside. This threat is already inside the house with you, and has already taken out the kids that you are supposed to be taking care of, and now they're after you. So the whole situation, the whole scenario is terrifying. And some of you might be saying, well, yeah, Dana, but that's an urban legend. It probably never happened. Okay, but here's the thing. Could it happen? Heck yeah, it could have happened. Things could have happened that were similar. Maybe it was embellished for an urban legend. But the point that makes even an urban legend scary is, could it have happened? Is it plausible enough for it to happen? And I think that's why this particular urban legend works so well for When a Stranger Calls. Because in addition to the original urban legend being such a terrifying story in and of itself, the movie makes it even scarier by this not just being a story that was told from person to person to person. You're actually getting visual. You're actually getting auditory things that are going on in this movie to freak you out even more, right? So I'm going to show you this first clip of the first call that Jill gets, played by Carol Kane in the movie, and we'll take a gander, and hopefully you will, guys and gals, will be able to see how effective this movie was.
Hello? Bobby?
Have you checked the children?
What?
Okay, so it was simple, right? But it was also very effective. All the guy said was, "Have you checked the children yet?" But just that one sentence just sends chills up and down my spine. And you might again say, "Well, dang it, that's probably because you've seen this movie before." No, heck no. It was effective the first time I watched this movie. And it still remains effective even to this day with me. So another thing that When a Stranger Calls is really, really good at is making even simple things seem terrifying. Noises, certain noises that otherwise probably would not have you thinking about, is somebody lurking around or whatever. And one of these is used very effectively in the movie, and that is the ice maker and the ice falling into a container in the freezer. Okay. And there is a scene early on in the film where Jill is already unnerved that she's gotten this phone call. So then she hears something that maybe could sound like somebody walking around, somebody skulking around. Could it be the kids? Could it, what could it be? So I want to show you a clip. I think this one is it. So hold on just a second. We're going to watch this clip here. Okay, so it turned out to just be the ice maker, right? But when we heard that sound out of context, and when Jill hears the sound out of context, especially the first time you're watching this movie, You may say, oh my gosh, is that somebody rattling the back door? Is that somebody trying to get in? And we see in a later scene that Jill actually locks the door. So we're kind of led to believe that during this part of it, this part of the film, that one or more doors could be unlocked in the house. And she was completely vulnerable to somebody or something that could be outside. Okay. So we're already unnerved by this point in the film because we've gotten the first call. This weirdo saying, have you checked the children? Then the scene with the ice maker and Jill slowly going around the house trying to figure out what in the heck is this? You know, is this somebody rattling the door? Is this somebody trying to get in and get at me? What's going on here? You can tell just the way Jill looks in the film that all kinds of things are going through her head about what this could be. Now, the next series of clips that I'm going to show you guys and gals show just how ominous the messages or the caller becomes. What he's saying becomes deadly at one point. So let's go through, maybe a couple more of these clips, and I just want to show you guys and gals this real quick.
Hello?
Why haven't you checked the children?
Okay, so with that one, there's more urgency that the caller is illustrating. Why he's no longer saying, have you checked the children? Now he's saying, why haven't you checked the children? So we're hearing a sense of urgency. Like, you really need to check these kids. But Jill's still unnerved, but she's still not getting it. Okay. So let's take a look at this next clip.
You really scared me. If that's what you wanted. Is that what you wanted?
No.
What do you want?
Your blood all over me.
Okay. So now this guy, he means business. Now he's saying he wants Jill's blood all over him. So this guy has progressed from weirdo stage to this guy is possibly a psychopath, probably is a psychopath. And he's wanting to kill me and get my blood all over him. That goes beyond like sinister. That goes beyond unnerving. That goes straight to the point of this individual means me bodily harm. Okay. So, it's getting really serious, super serious, as some people would say at this point. So there's no doubt by this point in the film, there's no doubt in my mind that this guy means harm to basically anybody that he comes into contact with. But we still don't know. Is this guy calling? Where's he calling from? This is in the days before cell phones. So where is he calling from? Is he calling from a phone booth? Is he miles and miles away? Is he simply prank calling her? Is he close by? Has he broken into a house and killed people and calling Jill from someone else's house? So, what exactly is he doing here? So, let's take a look at this next clip here.
Leave me alone!
Jill, this is Sergeant Sacker. Listen to me. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Our squad car's on the way over there right now. Just get out of that house.
Okay, so now the cops had put it at that point in the film. The cops had put a tracer on the phone. The sergeant on duty has called Jill and said, the caller is calling from inside the house. The calls are coming from inside the house. Get out now. And so still, unlike and also like the character of Jess in Black Christmas, which would have been a few years before, Jill is frightened, but she doesn't go up the steps to check on the children at this point. She's heading slowly for the door. Okay. So let's take a look at this next clip. Okay, so that gets really terrifying at that point because Jill's trying to get the door unlocked. She's trying to get out. And hey, Gory Tiger, and she sees the shadow of a man opening the door, apparently to the kid's bedroom, and getting ready to come down the steps. She finally gets the door open, and there is Charles Darning's character standing there, and you hear her scream. At that point, you're not really sure what has happened. You figure Jill is safe, that he has scared her. This detective has scared her by being there at the door as soon as she gets it open. Okay. So at this point, the movie kind of switches gears, and a lot of people were upset by this because for a lot of people, the beginning of the film and the end of the film are the strongest parts of the film. And to a point, I would agree with that. However, I think that the middle part of the film, where it really focuses on Kurt Duncan, the killer, the guy that killed those poor children, the guy that was calling Jill and menacing her, and probably would have killed had certain things not intervened. Certain people hadn't intervened, like the cops, right? So what had happened to Kurt is he had been apprehended and taken to a mental hospital. But in the years succeeding the whole event that happened to Jill as she was babysitting, Kurt has escaped. And the detective is kind of a freelancer or a free agent now. And so he has been hired by Dr. Mandrakis, who was the father of the original children who got murdered by Kurt. He gets hired by Dr. Mandrakis to finish Kurt off. Okay. So he takes the case, takes the money, takes the case. And so he ends up visiting the mental hospital where Kurt was incarcerated until he escaped. And there are some creepy scenes during this part. And one of these I'm going to play for you in just a second is where the detective turned free agent goes to the mental hospital, and the doctor there, the head doctor there, plays an audio tape on a reel-to-reel tape player of Kurt when he was first brought in. And to me, this is bone chilling. So I'm going to let you guys and gals watch this clip. Hey, Sonny. So here we go.
Doesn't taste right.
That's Duncan.
Kurt, why are you fidgeting? Can't you get comfortable?
No! I'm not comfortable!
Don't you look at me. Don't you talk to me. Don't you touch me. Stay away. Stay away.
Kurt, I'm only trying to help you.
Okay. Now, some people may not find that audio that they're listening to chilling, but I do, because the guy playing Kurt Duncan, Tony Beckley, who sadly died, I believe, not long after this film was made. I believe he died of cancer, and I believe there are certain scenes that you can really tell that he is super skinny, almost emaciated. And I believe he was ill with cancer during the making of this film. But he really, really was able to, I hate to say it this way, but turn on the crazy and make us believe that he was actually a unhinged psychopath that would basically kill anybody he could, including children. So the next few clips, and I could only put a certain amount of clips here. The next few clips I will try to put on here at different points in times as we're finishing up talking about When a Stranger Calls. So again, back to the middle part of the film. The middle part of the film, instead of focusing on Carol Kane's character of Jill and what she's been up to in the succeeding years since her harrowing babysitting job and her becoming an adult, getting married, having her own kids and all that. We're going to find that out in the last quarter of the film. But the middle of the film focuses more on Kurt's history and his interactions with a character played by Colleen Dewhurst. And I think that's why a lot of people, they don't like that it kind of switches gears and you've got a whole new set of characters to deal with, including Colleen Dewhurst's character. And she plays it very well. I mean, she plays the character very well. She hangs out at, she's a middle-aged woman who hangs out in bars. She seems to be a little bit of a lonely woman. And Kurt sees her in a bar, comes up to her. She needs a light. He lights her cigarette. But she seems to have a little bit of a bad attitude and doesn't take a shine to Kurt at all. She just wants him to leave her alone and let her sit there and drink. But he is apparently taken by her. Colleen Dewhurst at this state in her life looked very good for a middle-aged woman. Okay. So he wants to buy her a drink and she's basically like, just leave me alone. Thank you for the light, but leave me alone now. I just want you to go away. So Kurt ends up, getting into a fight with a couple other guys in the bar and gets beat up very badly. But then he shows up at Colleen Dewhurst's apartment, and she turns around and sees him out in the hallway outside her apartment, and she says, um, look, she said, I'm because he says, I want to apologize. And she said, look, I didn't mean for that to happen. I didn't mean for you to get beat up. So it should be me that is sorry. And he said, I'd really like to take you out for coffee. And she says, well, I'm sorry, but not tonight. And she goes into her apartment, and about then the phone rings. And she goes into her apartment. She leaves the door open. I guess she's not expecting this guy to walk in her apartment. She's talking to apparently a friend of hers. And when she hangs up, she sees that Kurt has made his way from the hallway to her apartment, which again is frightening in and of itself. And she's like, look, you just can't come in here. And he's like, just one cup of coffee. And she's like, no. She's like, maybe tomorrow. And in typical obsessed fashion, he says, oh, what time? And she says, I said maybe. So she finally gets him out of the apartment. And then there's one scene, which I sadly don't have a clip of that, where you can clearly tell that she's locked the door, but he's trying to get back in because we see the doorknob turning. And then apparently he must go away. So all the while, Charles Durning's character is trying to locate Kurt in the city. And he's striking out a lot. But then he gets connected with Colleen Dewhurst. And at first she's like, I'm not going to help you stupid cops. And he says, I'm not a cop. I'm a private investigator at this point. And I'm trying to find this guy because he's very dangerous. So he finally convinces her to help him. Okay. So this next clip is, to me, a very frightening clip where she thinks, maybe Kurt's went away. Maybe he's just went on to some other new and amusing thing, right? So let me show you guys and gals this next clip. Oh, I don't think that's the right one. Sorry, folks. I'll show that one to y'all here in a little bit. Not sure why. Okay. Hold on, folks. Okay, this is, maybe I don't have that clip. Maybe I thought I did. Hold on 1 second, folks. Sorry, got confused on my clips there. Okay, so I was wrong about that. Sorry about that, folks. So there is a scene where and I may have it here. I'm sorry, I just got confused on the clips. But this scene that I'm about ready to show you guys was a terrifying scene for me and gave me chills because it shows Kurt by himself in a bathroom. And he's remembering when he was in a straitjacket in the mental hospital, and his eyes are very big, and it's flashing through different scenes. Some scenes that they didn't actually show at the beginning of the film, him covered in blood after he's killed the children from the beginning of the film, and all that. So let's take a look at this clip here. Okay. So, what is so frightening about that is we are basically getting a bird's eye view, a first hand view into Kurt's psyche. And, you know, I don't know about y'all, but the thought of mental hospitals terrifies me. The thought of mentally ill people. I try to be empathetic and all of that of mentally ill people. But the truth of the matter is, severely mentally ill people scare me. And there's no way on earth I could work in a place like that. So when I see that image of, even though I know Tony Beckley was not really insane, um, but the image of him laying in a padded room with the straitjacket, his eyes are very wide. He was very good at portraying that very dangerous, um, unstable mentality. And so you were seeing that interspersed with Colleen Dewhurst's character screaming, with him covered in blood after he's killed the children at the beginning of the film. All of that, you're seeing these different flashes of things. And then you see him reaching further out towards the mirror and looking in his reflection. And it's kind of sad too, in a way, because you can see him mouthing the words no, and he does slowly sink down to the floor. And I didn't show that part because he's naked and it shows his behind, and I didn't want to get in trouble with YouTube possibly, so I cut the clip before that. But he does sink down to the floor and he's crying. So this is also a man who apparently feels a compulsion to kill others. And he doesn't want to have this compulsion. Nobody wants to be mentally ill. Nobody wants some kind of drive, a compulsion to force them to kill people. Okay? So it's like there were two warring factions inside his brain. And unfortunately for Kurt, and unfortunately for his victims, the compulsion becomes so much, and the bad part of Kurt wins out the majority of the time, right? He's a very sick man. He needs to be in a controlled environment, but he's not. He's without medication, he's loose on the streets, and that is a terrible recipe, that will ultimately end in disaster if he's not stopped. Okay. So I found that whole collection of images very terrifying, very unsettling. Um, so we've got a few more clips to look at here, because I think I had a total of 11 clips. So let's take a look at one of these others.
Hello? Hello?
Have you checked the children?
Jill? What's happening? What's wrong? What's wrong?
It's at the phone. He's got my baby.
Okay, so this is the more modern Jill. She's married, she's got kids of her own. Her and her husband are out celebrating his promotion at work, and they've left their children with a babysitter. Okay, so they get a call at the restaurant, and the husband says, "I'll get it," and Jill says, "No, I'll get it." And so that was the scene. She goes and says, hello, and hears that same voice, "Have you checked the children yet?" And hence, if I had been a mother and that had happened to me and I had been through that before, that's every mother's nightmare, that something will happen to their children. So that is a very frightening scene, especially if you're a mother, but for anybody, really, man or woman, to see that and hear that, knowing that the events that happened were not good when Jill heard that voice say the exact same thing years ago. Okay. So that's another very chilling scene as well. Um, and you know, some people might say, well, by the time it got to this part, I knew who was going to be calling them. Well, that may very well be so. But when you hear that voice, when you hear Kurt's voice again, there's no unmistaking that the chilling sensation that you will get. I think you would have to have emotions of steel to not have it affect you. Sonny, you say an all-time classic and the real story is bad. Well, the urban legend, if you're referring to the urban legends tend to be short, sweet, and to the point. And like I was saying earlier, the movie expands on that so much. And oh, Russell. Oh, you're going under a different name. Okay. Thank you for letting me know it was you, Russell. Hey, man, I've been worried about you. I've been asking people about you. So I hope you're doing okay, buddy. But Russell, like I was saying, the urban legend is something that's told to person, but the movie is actually able to flesh everything out and have music and great actors and actresses, and it's just so much more effective on a lot of levels. So you are correct in my opinion in saying that it is an all-time classic. Well, let's take another look at one of these during the last quarter of the film, another one of these clips. Okay.
Steven? Steven.
Yes.
Honey, where'd you get this? The candy. Where'd you get the candy?
Okay, so this is now after Jill and her husband have come home. The cops have searched the house and the grounds and everything. They haven't found anybody. And the babysitter's like, I don't know what's going on. What are y'all talking about? What are you talking about? And Jill's, in a panic when they get home. Like, we got this phone call, and I was so sure that he was here and that he'd hurt my babies. And we can see there that her children are okay, but she can't sleep, so she's got up. She's went into the children's room, and her son has what appears to be a sugar daddy candy. And she knows she didn't give it to him. She's pretty sure her husband didn't give it to him. But he's half asleep. And she's like, who gave you the candy? And it's very unnerving. You can tell the look of fear on her face and uncertainty. She's just heard from Kurt Duncan on the phone, just like she did many years ago. And she still can't get that out of her head. So I wanted to include that scene because this is going to set things up for the final scene that I'm going to show you guys and gals. And then we're going to talk a little bit about that and tie things all up with a nice, neat little bow. So hold on just a second here. I'll show you this last clip.
You can't see me. But I had to come back. Don't you know why?
Okay. So there is another scene that shows that Kurt is not just merely slightly mentally ill. He is completely unhinged and he means to kill Jill. And before he says that, he says, "You can't see me." Basically saying, "I had to come back. Don't you know why?" She thinks Kurt's in the closet and that her husband's in bed asleep beside her. And how terrifying for her to try to wake her husband up, and they roll over and it's Kurt in bed with her. And he lets out that hiss that just, it chills me. And then he's screaming and he's coming after her and he's ripping in her nightgown and he's crawling on top of her. And you just know that if something doesn't happen soon, he's going to kill Jill. And then he's going to go back and kill her kids. And where in the heck is Stephen, her husband? She did hear a noise coming from the closet, so maybe Stephen's okay. We don't know at that point. But that is one of the final scenes of the film, and it's a terrifying scene in and of itself. As you can see, if you've been watching this whole stream, and if you watch it to the end on the replay, you will see how this movie progresses. And for those of you that don't really like the middle part of the film, please keep in mind that when the film started out, it was a short film. And it was basically Jill's story. But you got to think, when it expands from a short to a full feature film, you've got to have something in there. You've got to have some padding to pad it out. A short film generally is not that long. Okay? So for a studio to take this movie, and in this case it was Columbia Pictures, they're not going to want a short film. They want a film that's at least an hour and 30 minutes. This one turns out to be an hour and 37 minutes. So how does a director do that? With padding, with extra material. And I think Fred Walton, the director of this film, did a very, very good job, a fantastic job of interweaving Jill's story with basically calling due her story and Kurt's story and the character that Charles Durning played. I believe it was Detective Clifford, I believe. And maybe it was John Clifford. But in any event, Fred Walton did a fantastic job, in my opinion, of interweaving all of these stories to create one cohesive, one very frightening hour and 37 minutes of your life. And you know, it's a film I gotta be ready to watch. Like I said, even after all these years, this is a film that gives me cold chills. I'll be totally honest with you guys and gals. As many horror films, suspense films, thrillers, what have you that I have seen, This is one of those that I have watched it at night, but I generally don't like to because it just gives me the heebie jeebies. It's a fantastic film. I love it. But it is so well made and feels so real that it's very hard for me to watch this one at night, folks. Very hard. And people can laugh at me if they want to, but that is just how I feel about this film. But am I telling people not to watch it? Heck no. I say if you've never seen When a Stranger Calls, if you think you can handle it, there's several different copies floating around on YouTube, and they all look great. So you can watch it on YouTube for free. If you've never seen it, I'm not going to tell you to go run out and buy it. But definitely check it out on YouTube if you've never seen it. If it's been a while since you watched it, check it out and see, if you still enjoy it, or if you didn't enjoy it the first time around, if you enjoy it now. But I've been on here almost an hour, all told. But I hope that those of you that watched along during this, and for those of you that will watch it on the replay, I hope that you enjoyed kind of the new format that I was doing with this, with showing y'all some clips. I just thought it might make things a little more interesting than me just doing a talking head thing where I'm just sitting here telling you about the movie, as opposed to actually illustrating and showing you guys and gals exactly what I'm talking about when I say certain scenes gave me chills, and still do give me chills to this day. But I guess that's all for me for tonight. I want to thank Gory Tiger and Russell. Russell, I'm so glad you're okay. And it was fantastic to see you in here again. And I hope I see you on in more streams. But also, for those of you that didn't feel comfortable chatting tonight, I did see several people in here watching. So I want to thank you guys and gals for that. And also, again, I want to thank all of you that will watch this on the replay. And I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your Saturday night, folks. Watch us some good movies. Maybe watch When a Stranger Calls if you've never seen it. Pull it up on YouTube and give it a watch. And yep, that is all for me. And I'll see everybody next time.